Julian here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make hard techno drums. I'm going to be showing you some new stuff I've never shown you guys before. I've made a lot of videos in the style. There's still some new techniques that I've learned recently that I haven't shown you guys before, so today is going to be all about that. And also just making it sound, more professional and even better than we ever have before. So go along with this video. I've just dropped a new sample pack called Most Powerful Hard Techno Drum Loops Ever. The link is right at the top of the description. Definitely go check that out. You can see inside of the pack, you get these 5 loop kits where it's basically the full drum loop. But then you have all the individual layers as well. Right, and you get that for these 5 different loops. So basically, it's this huge kit full of tons of different ideas that you can put together to create really powerful, professional sounding drum loops. The idea behind this, again, these all sound super solid. And the idea is to give you guys just a really solid library of different loops that you can take and really make some professional sounding stuff right out the gate, Because you have to start with high quality samples. If you start with some crap samples and then try to go and take it to the next level with a bunch of processing and stuff, you're just going to end up with some over processed crap. But if you take really solid stuff like this to start off with and then build your tracks on that, you're building on a very solid foundation. So definitely go grab that if you want to make your best tracks ever. Also included in the pack is some bonus effects as well as some bonus synth loops, and I'll play you a little bit of those. So it's all super high quality, super useful stuff. Again, link is right at the top of the description. This is a really solid library. You have everything you need to make these tracks, actually. Plus, again, just some of the best drum loops on the market for the style. I really haven't heard anybody hit the mark like I did with these. So definitely go grab that. Link is at the top of the description. It's an essential if you want to make your best techno tracks. And yeah, it also helps support me. I don't make a whole lot off of YouTube, but I put a lot of work into this, guys. So if you guys want to support me, if I've helped you on your journey of making better tracks, plus you want to make your best tracks ever, click that link at the top of the description. Go grab it. It's a no-brainer. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. Every little bit helps. Plus, you're supporting yourself, make your best possible tracks. And yeah, let's dive in. So, I have one of these projects here. Actually, in that pack I just told you about, you also get all the Ableton files as well. And so we have one of these. And I'm going to break this down and kind of show you guys from the top down some of the new stuff that I haven't shown you guys. So, to start off with, we have our kick and the bass, which kind of go hand in hand. Right, so it's a pretty standard rumble bass. What we've got here is we've got our same kick sample, and then it's just doing 16th notes. Right, just with the arpeggiator. And then we have a reverb, which one of the secrets to this that I've learned, turn up the reflect and the diffuse. It'll make it more full sounding. And then turn the size and the decay time down. You actually don't really want that long of a reverb, since you're sending so many notes into it, right? So you just get this little thing like that, and then you can hear it makes it sound really full. Then we have the amp, right? And then the low pass filter. And then it's just being sidechained to the kick. And then I also have this EQ here, cutting out some stuff, some low frequencies that you wouldn't really hear, as well as cutting out 100 to make room for the kick. And then we have the kick. And this is actually a new technique for these types of kicks that I've never shown you guys before. Where what we're doing is, so here's the main kick. And then we're actually multi-band distorting it. And yeah, so you can see we've got the low end. You don't want to do anything on there. The mids have a bit of overdrive on them. And then the highs have a bit of this pedal. And when you do it this way, you kind of get the best of everything, right? Because like this pedal, if we just put this on everything, you just kind of get a distorted mess. But if you put it on just the highs, you get a nice crunchy kind of kick like that. And then same deal with the mids. Like this overdrive wouldn't sound good on everything at once. But if you take just the mid-range of that, it sounds really good. And then the lows don't need anything. You keep the lows clean. So yeah, and that's going to allow you to, one, take a kick sample and kind of make it your own, right? You can take a sample out of a sample pack, in this case mine, and put this on there and kind of make it your own. But also, it makes the kick punch a lot harder. Like, if we play this in the whole mix without this, and then with it, right, it's going to give it that extra oomph to really punch through the mix. So that's the first thing, is the kick bass. The next thing here I want to show you guys that I've never shown you before is the way that we treated this percussion here. Right, so this is a nice little percussion loop. All it is it's just 4 samples, and it's just this really repetitive little groove, this da-da, 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 kind of like a call and response thing. But what's happening is, so here's like the dry percussion, right? Kind of bland. And it wouldn't really punch through the mix. But then what I'm doing here is I've got a little bit of chorus, kind of giving it some stereo width. And then I have a low pass with a high resonance going into this overdrive. And this is a sound design technique that I actually learned from like neurofunk basses and stuff like that, like more like drum and bass type stuff, where basically if you take a very resonant filter and then you distort it, this resonance here is just turning up the volume of like this particular, in this case it's the mid-range, like right where you have that bump. And as you guys know, distortion, the way that works is the more frequency or the more signal you put into it, the more distorted it's going to be. So if you just distort, or if you turn up the volume of this one range using the resonance there, you're going to get kind of like a sharper thing happening with the overdrive right around there. And this is good for 2 things. One, it gives a lot of texture, obviously, because like if we just distort this, but then you do it with that, you can hear, yeah, it's a lot more textured. But also, a lot of times people ask me, how do you get your percussion to sound like it's all kind of from the same place? Like it's coming from the same source, right? Like you hear a track and it sounds like all the different percussion samples are all kind of like fitting into the same thing. Like they're coming from the same place. Even though the truth is, these are just 4 different percussion samples that I had. Like they're not, you know, it's not like they were all made from the same exact drum or something like that. Well, this is a great way to make it all sound like it's coming from the same place. Like, this thing here, going into that distortion, it's like we're kind of putting these all under that same umbrella of processing. And so it all kind of sounds like it's coming from the same place. And then you hear this and you ask yourself, oh, was that made with a synth? Was it made like all kind of from, like chopped from one loop or something? It wasn't. It's just 4 different percussion samples. But then because we put this on it and then you distort it, you know, it all really fits together nicely. And without the distortion, it's not really it. Like, you got to make sure you distort that. Right, but these 2 together are a very powerful combo. And I actually did that more here with this distortion clap. Now here, since it's just 1 sample, it's not really for the sake of gluing everything together. But you can see the same thing here, right? This is this 808 clap. And then I put it into an overdrive. And then there's actually 2 overdrives on this one. But with this one, if I turn off the filter, and put it back on again, see, it's really shaping the sound. And you could go even crazier with this too. You know, but again, it's just creating that texture through the filter, and then not just the filter, but then distorting it afterwards with this overdrive here. And this one is like pretty heavily overdriven, right? Because basically what we're doing here is it's the distortion right after the sampler. Then we have a little bit of reverb actually, which I think sounds really nice here. And we're using a shorter reverb. You don't want it to be too washed out. And then we have another distortion after that. So here's why we do that, because you can see like this first, so here's just straight out of the sampler. Right, very, very flat, not near what we want. Then that first overdrive is working together with the filter, and that's getting kind of there. But if you have this in your track alone, it's going to be really flat, right? It's just not like got that full thing to it. So then we put a bit of reverb and then distort it on top of the reverb. And now we have that really full, fat sounding clap like you want. And then just a high pass filter at the end, because this distortion can add a bit of low end. Like if I turn that off, you can hear that in there. Just gotta make sure you cut that out. And yeah, so as you can see, between these two elements, that distorting percussion, and specifically distorting it, but using filters before the distortion to kind of shape it and get a more interesting sound out of it, is very powerful. And that's all just like from, you know, taking, like I said, like stuff I learned from like drum and bass, and even like, you know, making dubstep and stuff like that, because yeah, I was one of those kids when I first started. Nothing against that, but just not really my thing now. But like, yeah, you know, taking those styles and what they do, but then applying it to this, I think, is kind of how we can create new stuff. So that's the first thing, or maybe the second thing there. But then the next thing here that I think I've never shown you guys before that we can learn from this is actually just layering with these different like rolls, right? Like we have these like, you know, kind of classic hard techno style things. And basically the way we're doing that here is I have two of them. I have this one, and then this one. And it's very simple layering, right? But what it comes down to is two things. One, the processing. Obviously, this first one, we're just kind of leaving it open. And then the second one is being high pass. But that processing isn't going to do anything unless these are already just really solid samples. Like this one is already very focused in the mid-range. So I didn't need to go and cut out the high end, you know? But then this one has that high end to it already, right? Like if I turn off the high pass filter, that's already got that like to it that you want. So then we're just using the high pass to essentially solo the, and then you can put that over top of this, which this already isn't fighting for that because it doesn't have that. So then you put these together, and it creates one thing. But if you were to take, like, if this loop had already the in it, you wouldn't even be able to hear this. And there'd be no reason to have this, right? Like, you don't want to just layer just for layering's sake. It's layering based on two sounds that already are two different things. And then you can use processing to kind of accentuate that. But ultimately, they're fitting together because of being two different things. Yeah, so that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the most powerful hard techno drum loops ever right at the top of the description. Definitely go grab that. Again, you get these 5 drum loops all split into individual layers. Super solid stuff. I'll play them for you one more time. You get the individual layers as wave, as well as the project files for Ableton. Plus, you get these bonus synth loops and the bonus effects. Right, so everything in here is super solid. I want to just create an awesome library for you guys that's affordable, but also has some of the best quality stuff on the market for the style that's available right now. So thank you so much for all the support, guys. Definitely go grab that. This is going to help you make your best possible tracks ever. You know, if you've been struggling, if you can't get your drum sounding right, or maybe you just have issues with your overall track not sounding right, try some of these. It'll really take your stuff to the next level and help you have a solid library to create your own tracks from. Plus, on top of that, it really helps support me. I really don't make a whole lot off of YouTube, but with these sample packs, I can keep bringing you guys new videos all the time and showing you new stuff that isn't out there to take your tracks to the next level. Thank you so much for all the support, guys, and I'll see you with another video soon.